Hello and welcome to this video. Today we'll be talking about would Nintendo Switch Online be worth it if it included GameCube games? This is a question that obviously has been asked since the raising price of Nintendo Switch Online with the expansion pack. So, hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you do enjoy this video, please consider subscribing, and let's get right into it. Okay, so Nintendo, as many of us know, is one of the most storied video game companies out there. The only one that really is close to it, that I can think of off the top of my head, is like the Pokemon Company, which is Game Freak, and many other old video game companies like Sega. But Nintendo is the only company that still makes their own console. So they have a lot of video games that they could, retro video games that they could put out. But one thing that they haven't done, oddly, is really make GameCube games available. They have not made GameCube games very widely available since the Wii, when you could be backwards compatible with the GameCube, which was 15 years ago now, which is pretty insane. So, why? It's so weird. Now, the GameCube was not the best-selling console. In fact, it was one of Nintendo's bigger failures. The only other failure that has really gotten to this point is the Nintendo Wii U. So, but even though the GameCube didn't sell very well, it had a lot of great games. Nintendo, unfortunately, for this period of time, had to really pull it together, and they had to carry the Nintendo GameCube. I looked up the 35 best-selling Nintendo GameCube games, and I would say around 80% of the games are Nintendo games. They were made by Nintendo, or some part of Nintendo, which is insane. So they obviously have quite a big backlog to work from with the GameCube, but yet they haven't really done much with it. Although, this is the time where people are starting to get nostalgic for GameCube games. It happens with each console phase. Around 15 to 20 years after the console came out with the games, fans start getting nostalgic for it and want to go back and play those old games. So, but Nintendo has not done anything besides release Super Mario Sunshine and a limited edition release of Super Mario 3D All-Stars in terms of really making GameCube games available. This has really helped Nintendo shoot themselves in the foot, where they have, where people are now forced to go towards pirating and emulation, which makes them no money. So, even looking at it from a pure monetary standpoint, I don't know why Nintendo is not doing this. It's stupid. So, the question is, would the Nintendo Switch Online be worth it if GameCube games were added? In my opinion, obviously yes. This is such a yes for me because, again, as I said, Nintendo had to carry the GameCube in terms of the software that was put on it. So they have quite a backlog to work with. So they don't have to get any copyright or anything like that from publishers and developers to make the game. Here's what I mean. The games on the top 35 most best-selling GameCube games are as follows. These are the games that are not published by Nintendo. We have Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, which obviously was Sega. We had Resident Evil 4, which was Capcom. Then we have Sonic Mega Collection, but that's just a collection. It's probably not going to be on there anyways, and that's Sega. Resident Evil, which is Capcom. And then we have Resident Evil Zero, Capcom, Star Wars Rogue Squadron 2, Rogue Leader by LucasArts, and then Soul Calibur 2, which is Namco. All of the other games were published by Nintendo in some way, shape, or form, obviously including the Pokemon games. So they don't really have to go through a lot of copyright to get to those games. Yes, with the games that are sold by people, say, like Capcom, because there are a couple games on there that were published by Nintendo, but the developers were Capcom, they might have to go through some small hoops, but it's not going to be that bad because they published the game. They published it on their own console. They don't have to go through a lot of hoops with that. So it's just really weird why they aren't doing this. Even just putting them out as solo, like, games, even. Putting them on the Switch, because the Switch, it's not that powerful, but it can run GameCube games, for sure. Surely it can run GameCube games. But they have not done anything, and that's why I think that putting this in Nintendo Switch Online would really help. Especially on this time of year. Obviously, I don't think they're going to do this. The expansion pack just released like a month ago, believe it or not. I don't think they're going to add GameCube right now. Because I think that's not, they would have already announced it. We could get surprised, but I don't think it's happening. But at some point, I feel like they need to do something with their GameCube games and relate it to Nintendo Switch Online. Because I feel like if they put GameCube games instead of Nintendo 64 games, now, I get it. I've played in the Nintendo 64 games. They're all awesome. I love playing those games, because I haven't played them before, and they're really fun. But why? Why Nintendo 64 specifically? Why Nintendo 64 and only Nintendo 64? Like, Nintendo 64 and then the Animal Crossing expansion, which is a good expansion, by the way. But, like, why just that? Why stop there? Why wouldn't you add, like, a handheld? Why wouldn't you do stuff like that? And that's why I think Nintendo at some point needs to do Nintendo Switch Online with GameCube games. Because you're in this kind of period. You don't have this period forever where people are going to be nostalgic for GameCube games. This is not like, the Nintendo 64 era already happened a couple years ago. Now we're in the GameCube era. But what makes it hard for the GameCube is that there are less consoles, because it's sold, like, I think it's the second worst selling Nintendo console, which means there's less games. By the way, for Super Smash Bros. Melee, the most sold game of Super Smash on the GameCube, it sold 7.41 million copies. And you think, wow, that's pretty big. But you're not counting the people that still know they have it, the copies that have been destroyed, the copies that don't work. You're also not counting the GameCubes that don't work. They don't know where they are. They're lost. So, obviously, numbers from the GameCube sales and the Melee sales, and any other game, are going to be significantly lower than, not significantly, but lower than the actual numbers. You're not counting those things. And that's why so many games are going for, like, upwards of, like, over $100, $200 on eBay, because there aren't that many copies or consoles that of GameCube. And obviously you can still play GameCube games on the Wii, but you also have to find a GameCube controller and an SD card. I mean, an SD card is not that hard to find, but like a GameCube controller is a little difficult to find, let's be honest. But you can probably get one custom made or whatever. It's whatever. But you get my point. There aren't a lot of copies of those games out there. So why aren't you doing something about it and saying, hey, you shouldn't emulate these games. We have, this thing as a part of Nintendo Switch Online where we have GameCube games on that. The best GameCube games. Why aren't you doing that? That's literally easy money, easy cash grab. You're in the era where people are getting, love GameCube games. So why are you not doing anything about it? it's just Nintendo, and they're not going to watch this video unless some random intern says, hey, guys, we should do GameCube games. But it's just really weird when they haven't done it. I have a feeling Nintendo will add something else to the expansion pass of Nintendo Switch Online at some point. Whether it be something like Game Boy games, or Game Boy Color games, or whatever. They won't add something like that, but I have a feeling it's not going to be Nintendo Switch GameCube games until like way down the line. So, yeah, but that's going to do it for this video. The TLDR is basically you should put GameCube games on there because there are so many factors that are currently in play that are in your favor to do so, and you can't let this era pass without at least cashing in. So, yeah, thank you all for watching. Comment, like, and subscribe, and hey, we're nearly at 100. Please subscribe. I'm begging you. And the camera is off, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.